Yeah, he has that like moment where he drops his groceries.
He had white guy problems. He literally dropped all of his shit. And I say white guy problems because it's the quintessential infomercial issue where people, mostly it's white people, and I say that as a white man, that we just are clumsy with shit and we just drop everything.
Has this ever happened to you?
Were you combing your hair and suddenly you lost the ability to comb your hair because you had a stroke, and so you dropped the comb and it fell into the toilet, which then clogged up the toilet, and now all the shit and piss is flying up everywhere? Well, we've got a product for you.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Ryan, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined by my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. Wait, where are you? Oh, wait, I think I got a little bit of you in my pocket here. A little over here. Oh, wait, that's dust. Sorry. Yeah.
You're really milking the fact we're using video again, aren't you? You're really milking that. Yeah, well, it is Father's Day, or the day after, or 2 days after, whenever it comes out. It'll come out the Father's Day week. I know
you might be listening to this in March.
It could be March. You never know. And we're on episode 273, and this week we are continuing our discussion of a certain franchise that really is the only horror franchise for Father's Day. I can't think of another one, and that is, of course, the Stepfather franchise. With this week's entry, the 1989 entry, Stepfather 2. Last year we talked about Stepfather 1, said how much we loved it. Watching Stepfather 2, not so much. Not so much.
Well, what a horrifically unnecessary sequel. And I love these movies where they put themselves into a corner because like they killed Stepfather in the last movie.
Yes.
Where they just kind of like reshoot the ending to make him like still alive. And it's also that like recap a lot of these 80s horrors movies do, where it's like, here's what happened at the end of the last movie, but we're also going to change it just a little bit to make sure that he's not dead because we kind of need him for the sequel.
Yeah, I mean this movie especially, and Hellbound, Hellraiser 2 did the same sort of thing where they did like that recap crap. And I get why they put it in there. They do that because they don't know where the audience is coming in from. Now, my guess is just like, if you're doing a movie called Stepfather 2, maybe just kind of understand that more or less the audience has at least seen the first one. Like, that's not necessary.
I think we got to think back to, like, Brian, you and I are dinosaurs. Like,
yes, we're
think
dinosaurs.
back to the video store. I think sometimes people just picked up like cassettes that had great like artwork on them. Like,
I have said that multiple times.
Like, I think that the cover art for Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is pretty tight. So somebody might have picked that up before Nightmare on Elm Street because like the cover art looks really neat.
True.
I'm gonna rent this, and they're like, who the hell's this Freddy Krueger guy? Why do I care about him?
I mean, it's true. And I guess you also got to figure, like, access to movies that like this were not as plentiful back then. Like, for us, like, I watched this one on Tubi because I'm finding Tubi is really awesome, by the way. Like, I really am finding, like, for a genre fan like myself, and this isn't a genre podcast, by the way, but for a genre fan like myself, Tubi really is the closest you get to a video store.
Yeah. Give us money, Tubi.
Yeah, Tubi, please take our money. Or not take our money. You're free.
Give us
money. Give us the money. We want it. We want the money. Although, honestly, like, I think Tubi is owned by Fox, so I doubt they want to give us any money because, like, I don't know. We don't align with their politics. But that's okay. We'll still take your money. But yeah, I guess you could make that argument that, back then, maybe someone saw Stepfather 2 and was like, oh yeah, I didn't see the first one, but I'll go see the second one. and they went and needed that recap. But I felt like the recap is kind of unnecessary and just kind of like a, hey, we've got all this footage, let's use it.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially when you find out that this was produced by the Weinsteins. Waka waka.
Hey, I mean, that's still a company, just doesn't have the Weinsteins in it.
We're going to talk a little bit later about
Yeah.
why that was a bad idea. I mean, aside from the obvious, but like what they did that made this movie really bad. But yeah, I mean, Stepfather 2, I want to almost call this movie something else. Like I came up with an alternate title. I didn't tell you this. So here's the alternate title for Stepfather 2, also known as My Mom's Weird Boyfriend Who Used to Be Her Therapist and Almost Became My Stepdad to Electric Boogaloo. I know, why do I say that, John? Because at no time is Jerry the stepfather in this movie at all.
Right.
Never happens.
Yeah.
Never happens.
They're stretching the logic of that. It's like, well, he's like basically married to her.
No, he's not.
You know? There's I think you're supposed to believe that she's deeply in love. Yeah.
I don't know why. I really don't get it, but
I call her succubus because she has those like evil eyes.
You know why? Because she was evil Lynn in Masters of the Universe.
And she was the bitch that turned on Roddy Piper and they lived.
She totally did.
Yeah.
She totally did. She also was in Lords of Salem, but I think she was weird. She was in Rob Zombie's Lords of Salem as like one of the crazy witches in that movie. You remember Lords of Salem, yeah. John?
I try to avoid Rob as much as I can.
I was going to say that's Rob Zombie's art movie.
Yeah.
His art house movie to basically tell people like, listen, guys, I'm not just a one-trick pony who only knows how to do white trash aesthetic horror films.
Trailer chic. Yeah.
Trailer chic, yes. But getting back to Stepfather 2, you're right. They kind of painted themselves into a corner, and it kind of opens up where Jerry, sans wig, bald Jerry, in the psycho ward, mental institution, at Puget Sound, Washington. And we get that Jerry's like rubbing his weird, like, wax prosthetic cut that he got from the first movie, because he's having nightmares about it. And that's what that was the nightmare of him reliving those moments with his, I don't know, fifth family that he tried to murder.
Well, and I love that his therapist in here is the most trusting, unnecessarily trusting, idiotic
this guy's a fucking moron.
Therapist I've ever seen. He's like, take his handcuffs off. He's like, sir. It's like, well, leave the room, sir. It's like, give him your gun.
yeah. Like one, this therapist just kind of comes in and he's like, I'm a new age therapist, which I saw a lot of this in 80s movies. Did you see this? Like, I remember this in Dream Warriors.
Oh yeah.
When like Heather Langenkamp comes in and they're like, oh yes, well you're the hot shot doctor, aren't you? With your new age ways of solving mental problems, aren't you? And that was a trope where it was always, the hot shot doctor. And this therapist, he's a cool hip. Why? Because he thinks that he can just cure him to get his name in a book. Because let's be honest here, that's what he's after.
Well, Brian, also, we have to have the easiest way possible for Stepfather to escape so he can go to kill more people.
I love how you refer to him. You don't recall him a name, you just say Stepfather. Like it's kind the of Blob, thing. But it's just Stepfather. He's not Jerry or Harold or whatever the fucking name he was giving, because they gave him like 50 names. But yeah.
There's a reason that this movie opens up in like the insane asylum, other than the logic of, well, he got caught at the end of the last movie. It's the first movie only had like 1 or 2 kills. It was more psychological.
It was very mild in the kills. And it always, Stepfather always gets lumped into the whole like slasher genre, but it really isn't. Like it's this one is, and the third one is great. For an awesomely bad type movie, but like it almost like started out in that slow burn, very like like we, the audience, knew what the hell was going on, because in the first couple minutes of that movie, we saw that Jerry was a crazy person. So it's more or less like a waiting game of when is that crazy going to come out, so that when we get the moment towards the climax of the film where he says, who am I here today? Like, we see that psychotic break and we're like, oh shit, it's going to happen. And it's fulfilling to us as the audience. But in this one, it's much more of a body count. It's much more bloodier, but not bloodier for like, it's not good. It's just kind of like shoved in there like it was a cheap thing. And again, I'm going to get why that happened in a moment. But yeah, like this one definitely feels more slashery, but not in a good way.
Yeah, because, well, I mean, you're right. They had to up the body count. So it's like, well, what's an easy way to chalk up a lot of kills real quick? Have him escape the insane asylum and kill everybody in his way. Then boom, 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 we get a bunch of kills right at the beginning of the movie. So now if we slow it down a little bit, everybody's got their bloodlust satiated,
Yeah, their bloodlust satiated. Now, I do want, before we leave the insane asylum, I want to talk a little bit about this. So I love the fact that the guards all look like rejects from the truck yard.
Yeah. We don't take kindly to crazy people in the crazy house.
It's like, I wouldn't have pictured that Puget Sound, Washington would have had truckers for orderlies at this mental institution. But hey, whatever. And the other thing too, that this actually drove me nuts when I was watching. I was like, wait a minute. So everyone in this mental hospital is like dangerous, right? So why do they give them tools in the wood shop?
I think that's for the ones that have been well behaved. Like, it's kind of like they've earned the right to do arts and crafts.
What? But they're not doing arts and crafts, dude. Like, they're not using popsicle sticks and glue. They're using like tools that could kill someone.
Well, the more dangerous ones are making the paper plate bean shakers. The less dangerous ones can use power tools. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I was watching that part. I'm like, that right there is your problem. You want to know what happened? It's not the fact that the doctor's trying to get his name in Psychiatric Weekly or anything like that by saying he cured the family killer. It's the fact that you idiots thought that it would be a smart idea to give people who are criminally insane power tools.
Yeah.
And while he's in the wood shop, with everyone else who's not making bean shakers, he's making the perfect family because he likes to build the little houses, and he likes to make, little dolls that can't live in the house because they're way too fucking big.
Yeah. He didn't think of the dimensions of the doorway. Yeah.
Like, I look, he's like, yes, I love this little guy. He's a good husband. He's gonna make good, and he's a giant, so he lives near at the foot of the tiny house.
It's like Shaq trying to live in a yurt. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. So this is our first of many montages, by the way. Now I would want to make one mention of this because I didn't think you knew this. So the editor of this film is the brother of one of my professors from undergrad.
Oh.
Yeah, Pasquale Buba was the editor of this, and Tony Buba, local Pittsburgh film legend. That's really the only word I can use for it, is legend. And also known as the Mexican biker in Dawn of the Dead.
I was going to say,
yeah.
Who checks his blood pressure in a zombie apocalypse.
Yes. But yeah, Pasquale, who was his brother, who unfortunately had passed away a couple years back, he edited this film, and I gotta say, and I'm not just saying this because of the fact that, one, my teacher is his brother, but I actually dig the editing in this.
I don't have any issues. Yeah, I can't think of.
You can tell that Pasquale was totally trying to make this way better than he was given. Like, there towards the end, and again, this is jumping around a little bit, but like towards the end when you've got the stepfather fighting Creepy Eyes McGee, and they're in the wedding, and they're in the where the cake is, everything at the reception hall. You cut back and forth between this really artsy shot of the topper falling, and it's like I'm like, oh, you're Pascal, you're getting smart, trying to get the symbolism there. That everything is crashing all around him, just like the little topper is. So I gotta say, 1+ in the column for this movie is the editing. I really did. And I'm not just saying that because Tony was my teacher. But I gotta say I really liked it. And I know Pascal was like he'd done a bunch of different films from this time period.
Well, I would say that, like, speaking of the whole setup of this movie, is that it falls under the biggest problem that so many of these slasher movies do, is that it's just once we get out of like the saving Han part, like I like to call it from like Return of the Jedi, like once we get him out of the insane asylum and get past that little movie, then it just turns into the first movie again. And I'm not being dismissive when I say, here's the plot, everybody. He escapes. He finds where there's like horny single women. He goes there, fakes being a therapist, starts boning one, and then wants to marry her so he can kill the family. It's the first movie.
He wants to marry her so he can kill the family. Well, it's not. He doesn't want to marry her so he can kill the family. He wants the perfect family. And the problem is that the perfect family doesn't exist. So, like, that's his problem, is he always wants perfection, and it doesn't exist because people aren't perfect. But the movie isn't that deep. So this is what we got.
Yeah, I think let's mention the elephant in the room real quick about a movie about murdering like families and stuff. Jonathan Brandis is the kid in this movie. R.I.P. Jonathan.
Yes.
His career, like when he was in, I think his early 20s, just wasn't going where he wanted it to, and
it's a damn shame.
Committed suicide. Yeah,
it's a damn shame. Yeah, really. I always like Jonathan Brandis movies. I still love the movie Sidekicks.
Oh, Sidekicks!
I love that movie, and that's one we definitely got to do because, like, I have so many fond memories of watching that thing on when it came on HBO, and it's got Joe Piscopo in it in probably his wackiest movie ever.
And that's saying a lot for old Piscopo.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Jonathan Brandis, R.I.P. Obviously goes out saying, like, if you are struggling, please get help.
Yes.
You know, it's important. You're valued. Please don't go down that path. But, you know, people are here to help you out. But he's in this. He plays Todd, the skater kid, because that was popular back in in '89.
He's extreme.
He's extreme.
Bro.
Well, he's not an extreme bro type skater kid. He's like a cool jean jacket skater kid. No neon at all. I think neon was more of a 90, 91 thing, not necessarily 89. But
I love how his mom can't like reach him either. She doesn't know how to like be a cool mom, and she's like, hey, I bought you a bunch of football cards, and I can't remember who the player was now, but it's like maybe they have like so-and-so McQuarterback in there.
So-and-so McQuarterback.
It's like, we traded McQuarterback 3 months ago. And then he leaves, and his mom has a look on her face like she had accidentally brought up his dead grandfather. Like, that trades happen all the time in sports, kid. You know?
Listen, there are 2 major problems with this movie. Yeah. One.
Only 2?
Well, okay. Everything stems from these 2. Okay. One is the actors don't know what the fuck they're doing. Except for Terry O'Quinn. He does. Why? Because he did this before. So he knows what he's doing. Everyone else doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. Okay? Secondly, they don't know what the fuck they're doing because the script is god fucking awful.
Yeah.
It's written by someone who literally writes like a 5-year-old and doesn't know how humans talk. And that's why you get moments like that.
Well, Stepfather in this movie is a fake therapist. And for all of you who know this or don't know this, you can't bone your patients.
I was going to say, you know what? I'm glad that you brought that up because I was thinking about this. Like your mom is a therapist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like she can't just pick up dudes in the office, right? Like she can't do that.
Right. Yeah. It's like you can lose your license if they find out that you're banging clients.
To be fair, I don't think that Stepfather cares.
Right, yeah. Because, I mean, like, what license is he going to lose? Yeah.
He found his name. First of all, he finds... Like, there are so many things wrong with this setup that should not allow... It should not allow him to get to even the part of being in Palm Meadows. Like, he shouldn't even be there. So, like, first of all, after he breaks out of the mental hospital, okay, using his own mustache that he made from his own hair that he had plucked out, which, again, the truckers in the psych ward never, like, noticed that stuff.
Yeah.
But let's give that the benefit of the doubt, okay? They didn't know that he was collecting his own hair and knew how to trim it in a way that it would look like a mustache, okay? So he's in the hotel room, and, you know, the whatever bellhop in the motel, because that's what it looks like. It's a motel. It doesn't look like a high-end hotel. Comes in with food, and, like, the newspaper has his fucking face right there. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, the news on the TV is reporting that the stepfather escaped, but at no time did anyone think to post his picture on the news. So, like, I don't know, people who are watching the news could find him and, like, avoid dating him.
Well, it was the late 80s, Brian. I do go back to when Ted Bundy escaped from prison the second time. He got his ass all the way down to Miami, Florida.
But did they show his picture?
That maybe in, like, the newspaper or on the evening news, which was a happy hour, as Norm Macdonald would say.
A happy hour.
Happy hour. But, you know, he was like, there were tapes of him, like, I think Netflix ran like a Ted Bundy tape thing. And he was like, yeah, I was thinking about just, like, retiring from killing and just living in Miami the rest of my life because it was so beautiful. And it's like, back in the 70s and parts of the 80s, I know we're up to 89 with this movie, like, you could just escape and live the rest of your life. It's not like today with social media and computers in our pockets, you know?
Yes, but I'm just thinking, like, if the news is saying this is the largest manhunt in Washington state history, why would you not post the picture on the news? And it's like, clearly you have the picture available. Why? Because the newspapers have printed it right there.
They needed Tommy Lee Jones from The Fugitive. I want you every in-house, out-house, a doghouse.
Good. That's very good. It's a good Tommy Lee Jones. I don't want to look at your two-faced Tommy Lee Jones impression. I'm sure that one's good too. But yeah, like, the fact that no one, like, and again, this all goes back to the script. You know, at no point in the script did someone say, hey, maybe we should, like, put this picture in the news to, like, I don't know, up the stakes, to maybe have a scene later in the movie where, like, someone who had seen that news story saw Jerry and said, hey, that's guy, you know, he's the stepfather. He's the family annihilator. Like, which, that, by the way, that would be a much better name for the movie. Family Annihilator.
Yeah.
Family Annihilator 2.
That's if Canon released it.
If Canon did it, yes, it would very much be that way. But, like, that sort of thing just stuck with me and bugged me about this. I'm like, he should not have even made it to Palm Meadows because of that. But he does make it to Palm Meadows in Los Angeles.
He has to be driving a car that he stole, too.
Oh, he stole and murdered the person.
Yeah.
Because this stepfather doesn't give any fucks.
So shouldn't they just say, hey, we need an APV out on this license plate because stepfather killed this dude?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you would think so. You would think that would be the case. But again, you said 89, no one gave any fucks about safety.
Well, Brian, we need to get to a place where he can kill a family. We just need to get there.
He needs to get to the place to kill the family. If he doesn't do it, the movie is not going to pay off.
And you know what I think the biggest problem with this movie, you mentioned two problems, is that when you look at something like Friday the 13th part 39 or whatever, like, Jason kills more people than he did in the last movie before he's defeated, or Michael Myers kills more people than the last movie before he's defeated, and Freddy and what have you, Leprechaun. But
Freddy, what have you, Leprechaun.
Yeah. But the problem with Stepdad is he's playing the long game to kill just one family. And
are you saying he's not ambitious enough in his family murderings?
Well, I'm just saying if you want to make a franchise out of this, like he's like the Cleveland Browns of like murderers because he builds it up to this family and fails every time. He's the worst like killer in movie history.
He doesn't fail every time. This is only his like second time failing because we don't know how many family annihilations. I'm gonna trademark that fucking thing, by the way. Family annihilator. I am trademarking that. We don't know how many family annihilations the man has done. We don't.
But I'm saying every movie, like he can't succeed at the end unless they want to go really dark. You know,
they could, especially the third one. Man, like that kid's in a wheelchair. He should have totally like got it.
Ooh, like Mac and Me style.
Yes,
he, like puts the kid down a cliff.
Yeah. Well, here's again. This is talking about Stepfather 3, which that'll be next year's.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that one. But like, I just kept going like that kid should not be alive. He should not make it. How does he not get chopped up in the wood chipper? But he does. Spoilers. Getting back to Stepfather 2. So yeah, Stepfather decides that he's gonna go to Palm Meadows, Los Angeles. Why? Because the movie can't afford to travel anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all there is to it, folks.
I have a theory on that as well.
What's your theory?
They rented a house to shoot in and they went, okay, where's the basement? And then like the one scout like location guy went, they didn't say we needed a basement. It's like, idiot. The stepfather hangs out in the basement. It's where he gets all his rage out. And they went, oh, well, this place ain't got a basement. It's like, fuck it. We don't have time or money. He's going to work in the garage.
He could have had a she shed.
Yeah.
That could have been a thing, a she shed. You familiar with the concept of the she shed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like he could have had a she shed. You know, like something that was left over from the previous tenants who lived there. Which, by the way, I got to say, very easy for someone with a fake name, no credit to be found, to get and lease a house in 1989.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very easy. Like, literally just had to flash a smile and some cash, and you're good.
Well, he also starts
no bank account either, like at all.
Yeah, he also starts a therapy business overnight and has like 9 clients.
I guess this would be Reagan's America. This would be Bush Senior's America.
You will succeed even if you're a killer.
That's a good.
1,000 points.
1,000
of fright.
points of light to murder.
No, 1,000 points of fright.
That's great. So yeah, Jerry, now known as Gene, has his practice, and as you mentioned, John, he is able to start a practice with all of the women in the neighborhood, almost instantly. Like, no credentials needed, no business license, no nothing, just right off, and has a practice.
Well, maybe he went door to door and said, like, hey, are you tired of like boring missionary sex for 3 minutes where you don't get any pleasure? It's like, I sure am. Like, join my practice. You can bitch about your husbands to me.
And I love it how he is only doing like the bare minimum of what he's seen like on movies and TV shows of what a therapist does. So he's got his little journal where he clearly is writing just like pictures. He's like drawing pictures. He's not actually writing shit. And we get introduced to his practice by what I would say is probably the funniest part of this whole movie, which is this poor older woman who's recounting how her husband only gets off. Oh, gross. You just ruined my train of thought, man. This woman recounts how her husband only gets off when she hums or sings the show tunes.
Yeah. Hello, Dolly.
While giving him fellatio. Like,
yeah.
I'm just thinking like the actress involved in that was reading the script and was like, wait a minute. So I got to say this? Like,
you want me to read what?
You want me to say what?
Yeah.
Like, I was in a Betty Crocker commercial 2 weeks ago. Now you want me to do this? This will ruin my reel. Completely ruin it.
Hey, look, her husband just wants her to sing Come All Ye Faithful. Wow. You know.
That's not a show tune.
Well, it is when, when he's getting close.
I just loved how she was like, I need to learn the lyrics to Cats, but I don't know those in time, and that's the only thing that gets him going. I had seen this movie before, and I completely forgot about this part, but like this was one of those parts where I'm just like, yeah, someone had fun that day.
I mean, Cats of all things. I do like West Side Story. Like, Officer Cumkey, we're very upset. We never got the jizz that Oval's child ought to get. You know,
nice, very good. Or the Newsies. Could have done the Newsies.
Oh yeah, she could have. She could have pretend that she was blowing crutchy. You know?
Yeah, but this whole thing kind of snaps. Jerry or Gene. Or just the stepfather.
The stepfather.
The stepfather.
Yeah. His name, first name step, last name father.
Yeah. Snaps him out of it, which we get this awesome. Again, it's a trope, and this movie is so full of these goddamn tropes where you're like, she's recounting the story, so they're zooming into the camera, and recounting, and then Jerry's thinking about it and zooming into him, and then as soon as she's like, well, if I kiss him down there, snap, zoom back out, I'm like, classic 80s. But yeah, while all this is going on, like, first of all, we get introduced to Maddie Crimmins, also Scream Queen, if you want to call her that, Caroline Williams of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 fame.
Is that the male lady?
Yeah. And she's got to be like the worst friend ever.
Also, the worst postal employee ever. She's reading people's mail and shit.
She is the worst postal employee ever. And I would say also the worst friend with the worst taste in men at all. Because she's the primary motivating factor to get Carol, Meg Foster, also known as Creepy Eyes. The woman has creepy eyes, okay? I don't know. I thought they were fake, like in the movie Masters of the Universe when she played Evelyn. No, they're real. I don't know how that works. She's like the
snake in Jungle Book.
Yes. Yeah. But she's like encouraging Carol to go out with Gene, which I'm just like, why? Why, John, does Jerry have so much fucking luck with women? I don't get it.
I think he's got that big Ned Flanders energy,
like big Ned Flanders dick, like,
oh yeah. It's like I'm wearing nothing.
It's like a baby's arm.
Yeah. But what's strange about like his approach to manipulating these families, like stepfather goes in and like wins over, everybody in the family and everything. But you would think in a movie like this, he would be like, hey, Jonathan Brandis, do you want to drink some booze? And he's like, I'm underage, stepdad. And he's like, just don't tell your mom. But actually all the advice he actually gives to the family is like of value. And it's like, if he could just cut that whole murdering pesky thing out of it, like he'd be a good dad.
Family annihilator. Family annihilation.
Yeah, if he wasn't annihilating that family,
doesn't annihilate the family. I don't get how he is like so good with the ladies. I don't get it.
I mean, master manipulators are master manipulators, and I think he just comes off as like too good to be true, which he ends up being. Obviously.
But like, even when he's talking with Carol, and he's like, "Well, I think everything comes down to the family. It's all based on the family, and I don't know how to cook because all I eat are kids' cuisine and Hungry Man."
Yeah, he has that like moment where he drops his groceries.
He had white guy problems. He literally dropped all of his shit. Like it, and I say white guy problems because it's the quintessential infomercial issue where people, mostly it's white people, and I say that as a white man, that we just are clumsy with shit and we just drop everything.
Has this ever happened to you?
Were you combing your hair and suddenly you lost the ability to comb your hair because you had a stroke, and so you dropped the comb and it fell into the toilet, which then clogged up the toilet, and now all the shit and piss is flying up everywhere? Well, we've got a product for you.
It's conditioner. It's like, what?
Oh.
That doesn't make any sense.
I was going to say it's a comb with a Velcro attachment to your wrist.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like the Wii controller. You don't want to throw that in your TV.
Yeah, totally. But I don't get how he's able to get these women. And yeah, he does drop all of his Lunchables and kid cuisines, and uses it as a means of getting into Meg Foster's pants.
You need a woman who can cook for you.
Well, she didn't even say that. She just says, you just got to get somebody else to do it.
Yeah. The key to good cooking is make somebody else do it. Or something like that.
Yeah, it's not terrible sounding at all. Just get somebody else to. Oh, okay. Well,
you know what the key to great murder is? Hire someone else to do it.
Hire another person to do it so you don't have the fingerprints on the murder weapon. Plausible deniability. Should have taken that advice, stepfather. Yeah,
I think that's the term that Joe Kennedy gave to all his kids on their wedding day. It's
plausible deniability.
Dad, do you have any advice for me as I'm getting married? Plausible deniability, boy. Oh, that's weird, Dad, but okay, haha.
Okay, haha. That's a good one. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about, because right after he does drop all of his shit and gets invited to dinner, he does have a very weird conversation with Todd, because you can tell that Todd's like, I don't like you because you're not my real dad. Yeah. You're just the therapist that lives across the street who's trying to get into my mom's pants.
You're not Surge or Tamagotchi. I don't have time for you.
Hey, they didn't have Surge or Tamagotchi in 1989.
Oh, you're not Snap bracelets and Nintendo.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. There you go. So, stepfather has a very weird conversation where I just really don't think that he knows how to human at all. Because he's like, well, let me tell you something, slugger. All you got to do is you don't want to do the side ball, because if you do the side ball, you won't know where the fuck the goddamn ball is going. So that's why you got to do overhand, because let me tell you something. I don't know. I've never played baseball at all, but apparently that's what they do.
It's not actually accurate. Like, from somebody who has pitched.
I was going to say, I have not played yeah.
Sideball is good for curves. Like, you want overhand for more like straight down the middle or fastballs. But
so did you see that and you're going like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about?
The writer didn't know what they were talking about. And I don't think anybody proofread this script. They just went, it's done. Let's start shooting.
It's done. Well, it's the Weinsteins. What can you say?
Yeah.
But yeah, so this apparent single moment does two things. One, it wins over Jonathan Brandis, which, goddamn, man, you got to have some levels of what they have to reach to be able to win over. But apparently it does, and this totally wins over Carol, like right off the bat. She's totally into him. Unfortunately, something else happens, and it's called Carol's Angel's loving husband shows up.
Well, nobody has been murdered for a while.
No one's ever been murdered, so we needed some murderings.
It's like the guy in the first movie who's like, hey, show me this property. And while you're showing it, I'm going to say every stupid thing imaginable that would cause you to strike at me.
Yes. He comes in, the husband comes in kind of like a dick. He's just like, yeah, you know what? I'm Carol's husband. I was gone for a year, but now I'm back to give her some of that D because I'm her husband.
Yeah, because I'm totally good spooky.
Yeah,
I'm a totally big bad guy.
It totally didn't work out with the dental hygienist that I left her for a year ago. But now I'm back, so we're cool.
I comb my hair with a knife.
He does. He combs his hair with a knife. And again, the script doesn't know what the fuck it wants to do with this, so it just gives it the most weirdo way of so Carol's like, I think you should go over and talk to Gene. Gene, can you talk to my husband? Because I know like I've been giving you signals that I really like you and want to have a relationship with you, but let me just put a situation in hand where the guy that I really like, who I'm really into, my next door neighbor, who's also my therapist, and I'm going to have him talk to my, ex-husband, and that'll end up working well, right?
Yeah.
No, it didn't. Yeah. No, totally get murdered. I love, and this is again where we get like the one-liners from Stepfather, which I love these. Like I think he says, let's crack this one open, bam, right in the head.
And that's never coming out of his carpet either, though.
No. But he just will get someone else to clean up the carpet.
He'll need zero res. Spell it backwards or forwards, it spells itself. Zero res. Give us money, zero res.
I think that's our second infomercial joke. We're on a run. This might be a third one. I don't know. Yeah, so Stepfather like totally butchers this guy in a very bloody way, but it's also like one of those ones where, again, this is classic 80s horror cinema, where they did not have nearly enough money to show anything, so they just were like, let's just throw a bunch of blood everywhere on light bulbs and on, you know, the carpet, and throw like a lot of blood on the neck, but don't like show a wound. And that's classic 80s horror right there, but it's done really shitty even for this movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like, you know, and I guarantee they probably say like, oh, we did it to be like subtle and make it scarier. Like, bullshit.
Bullshit.
And this basically leads to, after like this, like, mail lady breaks into his house.
Oh, dude, you're forgetting the car thing in the junkyard.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I mean, he's got to get rid of that body.
No, but I'm saying like this, after this, you get this very bizarre off pace scene where Jerry is like smiling and giddy like a schoolboy as he's got the dead body in the back of the car, and he's at a junkyard, and he just starts doing like donuts and wheelies in this car, smashing it up for no reason, by the way, because he's going to destroy the car anyway.
Yeah.
Like, why would you? But it's just so weird because even the music is all like happy-go-lucky as he's doing these donuts in the junkyard.
Gotta pad the runtime.
Oh,
Maybe
seriously.
They're looking at dailies and they're like, we're coming in under like 75 minutes. We need to pad this movie.
Yeah. It's so weird. It's just so off vibe for the whole movie of the stepfather just flipping around the car, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? But you're right. Yeah, next one is the mail lady. Talk a little about the mail lady.
Well, the thing is, like, just to explain how badly written this script is, like, mail lady, it was set up earlier in the movie that she likes a good wine, like, and she has like very exotic wines and everything. And so she is running afoul of stepfather's plans. So he goes and, well, he just does a murder. He's good at that.
Well, the way that she runs afoul is interesting too, because she commits basically not mail fraud. It would be spying.
Yeah, and B&E.
Yeah. So she, in her spare time, likes to go through people's mail, and she finds it very odd that Gene does not have any personal mail that goes to him. It's just junk mail. By the way, as someone who gets mail all the time, let me tell you something. I can count the number of days during the week when I get actual real mail and not just junk mail. So, you know, maybe like 1 or 2 days out of the week?
Oh, most of my mail is those stupid giant eagle like flyers.
My personal favorite are the envelopes that look official, but when you open them up, it is nothing but an ad for something.
Yeah.
Like,
buy a credit card.
Yes. It's get a loan, get a credit card, or it looks like a check, because it says pay to the order, and you open up and it's like, oh wow.
This could be you.
This could be you. It's like, you fucking asshole. And I almost go like, do they realize how much money it costs to make this thing, to make it look realistic? Like, how can they justify it? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, mail lady, Maddie, she keeps going through all this mail, and she finds one letter to Gene that's like from his high school, and she decides she's going to use it to blackmail him, which, not the smartest thing, since like you already get this vibe that this guy is fucking creepy to begin with. Like, you walked in on him, deciding to go into his woodshed, or I think his garage. He was in his garage. And like do his weird like woodworking angry masturbation thing that he does.
Yeah, he's getting wood, literally and figuratively.
Literally is like he's angry, yelling at the wood while cutting the wood, while probably stroking his wood. And of course I did that as you're drinking, so you're gonna spit it up. But yeah, so like Maddie already's got like weird vibes from him to begin with, and decides that, oh well, blackmail might be the best thing for me. Makes sense. Might work. Yeah. It's not going to end up
an
wrong.
Unhinged maniac. Yeah,
an unhinged maniac. Which again, it would be really cool and make probably more sense if maybe Maddie saw that there was still a killer on the loose. Like, I know it's Washington, but like you would think that news would filter down to like, I don't know, California to some degree.
It's a big state.
I know it's a big state. You're giving the writer like a lot of leeway, John. I'm just saying. But yeah, so she decides to use this letter as blackmail because apparently the real Gene Clifford is an African American man, and clearly the stepfather is not.
He should have just been like, "I have vitiligo, you racist." Like, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh man, that would have been good writing right there. Because he even says, he's like, well, I haven't changed that much.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
But
yeah.
He ends up killing her, and for the third act reveal, he just decides to like steal a bottle of her wine.
Yeah.
And he likes to sing like Captown Races after whistle Captown Races after he murders people.
Races.
And a blind guy like hears him singing it. Because that needs to pay off for the third act, and he runs and he goes to like his wife, and she's like, "Where were you at?"
Or
like,
their girlfriend now. We're not,
or a girlfriend, yeah. Like, where were you at 1 a.m? And he's like, "Don't worry about it. Also, here's a really random exotic bottle of wine that you never knew we had in the house." And she's like, she doesn't think, "Oh, that's the wine that my male friend drinks." Like, it's not like it's $2 chuck. That was a very random ass bottle of wine, but we need the clue for her to put it together.
There's so many weird things in this movie when it comes to like things that are shown that are then paid off later that make no sense. Like the wine is one thing. There's a scene where the stepfather is teaching Todd Camptown Races, and of course, like you got to keep going. Like, why would you think to out yourself? Since that's your thing that you whistle all the time?
It'd be like if the Wet Bandits, like they both got married and in their own homes, they clogged the sinks.
Yes.
Like, that seems odd.
Why are all these plumbing calls coming in at this one house all the time? And, oh, yeah, it's kind of weird that they're experts and they clog things up the same way every time. Yeah, it makes no sense why. Like, I've always said in when we've done these reviews, that it's nice to see like the bullet get shown, and then you see later in the movie the bullet actually get used. John, you said it a couple times too. But like in this movie, it's done in a way that just seems lazy.
It's Chekhov's whistle.
Yes, it's Chekhov's whistle.
Yeah.
But it just seems really lazy. So yeah, like Carol apparently doesn't think it's a big deal that he has this weird wine. I didn't mention this too. So like the stepfather jumps from I'm totally like into Carol to immediately we're getting married over the course of like 3 days.
That's movie time for you. It reminds me of like let's talk about a good movie, Empire Strikes Back. Like people always joke about how like Luke trained with Yoda for like 3.5 hours. And they're just like, I gotta save my friend.
3.5 hours.
Yeah. So yeah, movie, like they want you to suspend your disbelief that like a lot more time has gone a way that actually hasn't. Yeah, but you're right. They've known each other for like
3 days,
a week. Yeah, and it's like, let's get married.
Yeah, and
it's that Terry O'Quinn big dick energy.
I was just saying, what the fuck is up with Jerry? Like, how does he get these ladies like all the time?
He's a tripod, man.
I guess so. I guess that's it. Although we do get a very weird scene where you get the feeling that Jerry really does not like sex at all.
Now, a lot of sociopaths, like not a lot of them, but a lot of them don't because like they get their sexual drive from murder. So like they don't know how to be intimate sexually.
I guess so, but like nowhere in this movie series does it ever like get to the point where like he gets off on the murder. It's more or less like he does it as a reaction to it, the imperfect nature of humans and human relationships, because it's never like mentioned, but I just noticed like in this movie, I don't remember if that also was the case in the first one where I know he did that weird thing where like he would like not move at all.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, you like the dead fish thing. That's cool for you. I guess he's
a pillow princess,
I guess so. Whatever. But I just know in this one he does the thing where he just kind of is like, well, I guess you want to have sex, so I guess we'll have sex. I'm not going to enjoy this at all. And even later in the movie, he's about to like, you know, decide to family annihilate, copyright,
trademark,
he says, I even had sex with you. Like, okay, was it not good? Like, was it a chore?
Well, it was probably missionary, and he had to look into those eyes, you know. Ah!
It's like Medusa.
Yeah.
He just turned to stone. Oh, shit. Yeah, so Maddie, she gets killed. He sings Camptown Races. And, you know, Carol gets told about the death, and immediately, you know, Jerry's like, well, it sucks, but let's talk about the wedding. Because that's what's important. Your girlfriend's best friend, and your patient just died, and your response is, well, let's talk about the wedding.
Well, they can't upset Great Aunt Gladys. They need to get on with this shit.
I guess so.
She came from Arizona.
I guess so. Yeah, so he kind of like guilt trips her into talking about the wedding, and then we like cut into the wedding, and then this is really where the family annihilation comes into play. And that's why I also say, like, there's no stepfather in the Stepfather. He's just Jerry, the guy trying to bang, you know.
Jerry, the almost stepfather.
The almost stepfather. There you go.
Almost Stepfather is not a great title, though.
Almost Stepfather 2.
It sounds like a Hallmark movie.
Well, this whole movie feels like a Hallmark movie, honestly. But not like, you know.
Directed by David Lynch, though.
Yes. If it was like the midnight block of Hallmark.
I have an idea for a romance movie where the father kills the family. I don't think you're going to work very well here.
I don't think it's going to work. David. Yes, it will. So at the church, you know, everything's getting all set up, which again, I'm thinking like, how much money you spend on the fucking church, dude? Like, and you're just going to murder people in it. But what outs Jerry in this is his own stupidity, because Carol hears Todd whistling Camptown Races, and also Todd is carrying in a case of the very same wine that Maddie was into. And this leads to basically Carol confronting Jerry, also known as Gene, also known as the stepfather, about who taught Todd that song, and where did you get the wine that was my best friend's wine, which caused his stepfather to lose his shit.
Which he should have just been like, all the kids are whistling Camptown Races next to Trickle Down Economics, Nintendo, and Heathcliff. That's all the 80s kids are talking about. You know,
I don't think that works for him. And that's again, like he loses his shit. He starts like attacking Carol, and then he just decides like, I'm killing Todd too. So like Todd opens the door. What are you doing? Boom. Tries to kill him.
Todd. Yeah.
He's got to kill Todd.
Look, gay marriage isn't allowed yet, and he's underage, so he can't marry Todd.
Gross.
No.
Nasty. This isn't West Virginia.
Greenbow, Alabama.
Greenbow, Alabama. Sorry, not to our West Virginia audience. For you too. Yeah. So, you know, Jerry's losing his shit. He's like trying to kill Carol, and then it's literally just like a back and forth. Like Jerry gets stabbed by a fork, like a steak fork. And you know, Carol gets some hits in, and Jerry gets some hits in, and like they end up in a bloody mess. Todd, to his credit, is way smart and figures a way of being able to knock out the pins in a door, because he got locked in a door, because I guess Jerry's like, I'll kill you later.
Hey, you can only kill one at a time.
He can only kill one at a time. You know, he's not Batman.
Unless you're like Rambo or something, yeah.
Well, I mean, he is a family annihilator, trademark, copyright.
All rights reserved.
All rights reserved. But he's not, you know, Rambo annihilator. Yeah, so we get this really like bloody mess, and it honestly, the whole ending of this feels extremely rushed. And Todd breaks out. He saves his mom by taking the hammer and hitting Gene like straight into the chest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and kills him right there. Okay, and it's even like before where Carol is able to stab Jerry with like a cake knife right in
Jerry's
the same
final boss.
He totally is the final boss.
You can't just take him down with one stabbing. You need to get like 12 stabs in.
Well, I was really disappointed in the fact that this movie did not have like a gotcha kill right at the end, like a gotcha, like I'm not dead. Because after Jerry gets like the claw hammer into the chest, a la Todd, so good going, Todd, saving your mama. Todd and Carol like wander out in a bloody like rage, not really rage, but just like a bloody stupor into like the pit of the church, and everyone's like, "Oh my God!" And that is the moment that I would have like the Stepfather show back up.
Yeah,
don't you think? Like for like that final like shock,
and then like that Texan relative goes, "I got this," and shoots him dead.
Yes, or Carl Winslow shows up and he shoots.
Yeah,
him dead. Like that would be it, right? Like that. He's just there. Boom, boom.
That should be the end of every movie.
Every movie.
Carl Winslow shooting the bad guy.
Yeah. But no, it ends with Jerry holding the little figurine that busted up of a bride and saying, "To death do us." He's not really dead because he comes back in the third movie, but with a different face because Terry O'Quinn said, "I'm tired of this shit. I'm done."
Well, see, and that's when at that moment Uncle Billy just goes and grabs all the liquor out of the reception hall because it's like, well, this ain't happening.
It's drink o'clock. Well, I mean, if I was Carol, it's drink o'clock.
Yeah, she's earned it. I would.
She's earned it. And that's Stepfather. Now, I did want to mention why I think why this movie is as bad as it is. And we already talked a little bit about the script. We talked a little bit about the actors not knowing what the hell to do because the script is terrible. The other reason is because this movie was made by everyone's favorite creep, Harvey Weinstein.
Wash my butt cheeks while I jerk off into a ficus. Harvey Weinstein.
One of the things that came up with this particular movie was that they did test screenings of it after that they decided that this was going to be actually screened in theaters. So originally this was going to be a straight-to-video sequel, which it should have been right off the bat.
It's got that energy.
This should not have been a theatrical film. This should have been a straight-to-VHS where it would have probably done really, really well as a straight to VHS, like especially in 1989, right? Yeah.
Or something that goes like HBO or Cinemax too, you know?
Yeah,
This is a great 2 a.m. movie.
This is a fantastic 2 a.m. movie, and they decided that I guess because of the fact that the screenings they were getting, the dailies they were getting were good, that they felt like, oh, all right, well, we'll throw a little more money to it, we'll make it a theatrical film. But like this movie had a small theatrical run. It only made $1.5 million. Yikes. Which is extremely tiny. Extremely tiny for any movie like this.
I don't know what the budget of this movie is, but for how cheaply it was made, it had to have been a lot more than 1.5.
Oh, you got to figure a lot of the money was going to just the actors and really nobody else. Let me pull up what the budget was on this.
I'm gonna guess
of IMDb. What's your guess, John?
$4.5 million.
Okay, you're way off.
Oh,
the budget was $1.5 million.
Oh, well, then the movie almost made a profit.
Its gross was $1.5 million.
But we got to take the.
It made Okay, you want to know how much money it made? Like its profit, it made about $19,000.
Cha-ching.
profit. and here's the thing is like that's not even talking about like the marketing costs of this thing. So yeah.
Which is probably another 500,000.
Probably another 500,000. But I mentioned Harvey Weinstein. Hope he is rotting in jail. Because he's one of the reasons why this movie is so weird tonally. I guess they had done test screens of this, and they felt Harvey and Bob Weinstein, being that they were the studio executives at the time, that the movie needed to have more blood. So what they ended up doing was they demanded reshoots. The director at the time, Jeff Burr, decided that he was not going to do that because he felt, even though I do think there are problems with the directing in a lot of areas here, not some, but a lot of areas here, but he just demanded reshoots because of lack of blood. Jeff Burr said no. So Harvey and Bob, fuckface Weinstein, brought in director Doug Campbell to do the reshoots. And they cut a little bit of the film out and they added in a lot of badly done effects. Like even when you see like Jerry get his hand stabbed, it is clearly a very fake looking hand, like made out of rubber that they just stabbed. You know, the scenes with Jerry killing Carol's husband, again, like when we mentioned that, you know, it just looks like just threw blood everywhere. That's because that's literally what they did. It was just cheaply made. And I guess, you know, Terry O'Quinn refused to do those reshoots. And he said that they were meaningless and they were very irritating.
Yeah.
Which I get, you know, especially Terry O'Quinn, like he made that character. And to basically be told like, hey, no, you're actually going to be just a slasher, not this, I don't want to say thoughtful, but much more layered.
More thoughtful
maniac.
than Jason.
Well, much more layered maniac is what I would say. Much more layered maniac. But yeah, so you can thank the Weinsteins for ruining this movie and like the lives of actresses.
Yeah, hundreds of people.
People.
Well, it reminds me of the of Scream when, you know, Henry Winkler buys the farm when the Ghostface kills it, and there's no reason narratively for it other than the Weinsteins went, there's been too long since a kill. So they, well, I guess we'll just kill the principal for no reason, just to throw an extra kill in there. You know?
Yeah. This movie, just kind of final thoughts here. This movie's not terrible. I don't want to say that it's a bad movie because I've seen much, much worse films. I just think that the combination of the script, the crappy, you know, half-ass blood things that were thrown there that really didn't do anything, and just kind of the idea that do you really need this? What more is being added to this story is what hurts this. And also on top of that, the fact this was a theatrical film is what killed it financially.
Mm-hmm.
You know, John, what are your final thoughts on Stepfather 2?
Well, it's interesting you said this film isn't terrible. I wouldn't call this a bad movie. I don't
think it's bad.
I would use both of your words. I would say it's a bad movie, but it's not terrible.
Yeah.
You know, I would draw that line there. And like, I think the problem is like when any type of movie you can make on a shoestring budget makes a profit, it's automatically going to trigger that sequel and everything. But
yeah.
I think that a lot of these killers who are just like behind a mask and don't talk and kill, like there's almost some kind of like weird comfort thing in just watching Jason walk through the woods and just machete people. But when you have a character that has like some level of nuance, it's not the same as watching a hockey mask guy just kill people because he's like a cat and they're mice.
And to be fair, like me personally, I prefer my movie killers to have personality. Mm-hmm. That's why I always gravitated towards Freddy. I always gravitated towards Chucky, Pinhead, because they offered something more than just a creepy guy in a mask, not saying anything, but just more of a force of nature like thing. Like I know you really like Halloween. I know my wife really loves Halloween. I really could take it or leave it. I've always been that way. Because I just felt like there's more things to me that are much more terrifying when there's a bit of psychology to the killer. and you see that in what they do. You know, we know that Freddy Krueger is more than just the jokes. That especially when you get to like New Nightmare and even the earlier films like 1 and 2, where he is much darker, like you get more of those nuances in the character by what they say and what they do and how they do it, rather than just here's a hulking beast that's coming to get you. Tina. Hey, Tina, look at this. Yeah, classic. But no, you're right.
That was good for all of our video watchers, for all of you listeners. What the hell did Brian and John just do?
I just tried to chop my fingers off. Not for real, okay? Not for real. But yeah, that's Stepfather too. Again, not bad. I think you said it was a bad movie, but just kind of an unnecessary sequel. And yeah, it's sad that this is the last Terry O'Quinn Stepfather, because I would really imagine like what it would be like if he did a third one, but maybe one that learned a bit from the failures of the second one.
Well, Brian, what's on Terry Quinn's tombstone when he dies? Is it, well, I guess the headline, I should say, not the tombstone. Is it a Stepfather actor Terry O'Quinn dies, or Lost actor Terry O'Quinn dies?
I go with the third option of Howard Hughes actor from The Rocketeer.
Ah, Rocketeer. Yeah.
That's a movie right there, my friend. Yeah. But no, I think if anything, like he has made his bones as a character actor specifically for Lost. Horror fans will always know him as the Stepfather, but people outside of us will know him as the guy from Lost. Which I gotta say, and I get shit for this all the time, I have never seen Lost.
I've seen like 5 episodes of the first season.
I'm glad it's not just me.
Yeah.
I know it's like one of those shows like you have to see it. It's like I don't have to see shit, okay?
But all I've heard from people is that the show absolutely falls apart and like shits on its own face. So I'm like, why would I want to see that? Why would I want to watch one good season and then 5 terrible ones?
Because it's sometimes one of those things where you like to see a series fail. You know what I mean? Like
it's like that show Heroes on like NBC.
I used to love it. Was on NBC. I loved Heroes. And then it fucking fell apart. And it was like, I literally was just like, I'm not watching this shit anymore.
Yeah.
And although, to be fair, a lot of that has to do with the writer's strike of, I think, 07? I think it was 07.
Yeah.
Yeah. That completely like killed that series and a bunch of other ones. But this isn't that kind of podcast. At least, well, I mean, it is, but like we were talking about Stepfather too, not that. Yeah. Well, good talk, John. Good talking. Happy Father's Day. Even though you're not a father, you know, at least
I had one.
Well, you had one. You had one, and I have one too. But you know, and I am a daddy. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my day.
Yeah, forget our dads. Let's talk about you. You're a good dad.
Yeah, I'm not. But I am the stepfather too.
Yeah, you're a father and a stepfather.
I am the stepfather.
Go out and shot fire.
I'm not the family annihilator. Mm-mm. Trademark, copyright, patent pending. So, John, where can they find you at on the internets?
All the things you would expect a mid-30-year-old man to be on.
Pornhub?
Oh, well, yeah. Grindr.
OnlyFans? You got OnlyFans, John?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, that should totally be your thing to do is OnlyFans.
As we mentioned,
do you think your girlfriend would let you do that?
Oh, yeah, she would.
I'm just thinking, like, imagine if you did your pumpkin shit, but you had an OnlyFans.
See, it's like when we did the episode with the Project Greenlight guys. Like, see, they pay me to put my clothes back on. I start naked, they go, put on clothes, put on winter jackets, everything.
I'm just imagining, like people don't know this, but John has a tendency around October to go to pumpkin patches, and he kind of like humps the pumpkins. It is a glorious thing to see. And I'm just thinking, right there, man, if you ever need to make money, OnlyFans is your ticket with the pumpkin.
Somebody out there has a jack-o'-lantern.
And you can just start, as you said, you can start naked, but you've got like the pumpkin is the only thing. And it's just like, You light the pumpkin up.
It's like, hey, how is that pumpkin hanging between his legs?
How is it hanging there with no, holy shit? And it's like people pay to put clothes on. Put another pumpkin up. Okay.
Cover your nipples with pumpkin.
Cover nipples.
But no, outside of those, I just recently did an interview with Tom Holland.
I heard about that. Holy shit! And you did you really do it in the Stanley Hotel?
Yep, the Stanley Hotel where Stephen King got his inspiration.
How did you get permission to do that?
Well, I mean, I was staying there.
Oh, okay.
So I went to like the lodge, which is like where they used to have single men who weren't married. They couldn't be in the rail hotel, so they would go to the lodge. Now it's just a cheaper place to stay.
That's a real thing. Like single men would be like, "We were afraid you're going to take our women."
Oh yeah, well the place was founded in 1909. You know, so it's like you can't be in here if you're not married, you freak. But now it's just like a cheaper place to stay if you don't want to stay in the main hotel. So I went to like their like weird area that had like a fireplace and like a moose above the fireplace. And then Tom Holland goes, "Where are you?" Because I'm like, "Oh, I love that you naturally assume this can't be my house." He like looked around behind me and went, "Yeah, this isn't your home. Where are you, boy?" You know. But
wow.
Yes. So that has pushed aside my Dirty Harry video for a
I was
while.
gonna. I mean, you got Tom Holland. That's a major get right there, buddy.
Yeah. So I'll be and for all of you who are like, "Wait, Spider-Man?" No, the Child's Play, Fright Night.
Yeah.
Director, writer of Psycho 2. So that will be. I should be able to get that one out actually ASAP, and then I'll get back on the Dirty Harry train.
I think people will be okay with that.
Yeah.
I think they'll be fine. That's awesome. That's at J Dubs Video Nasties, right?
Yes. Oh yes. Yeah. Thank you. I didn't even plug myself
on
correctly.
the YouTubes. I gotcha. You can find me at Brian Connington on Twitter. I also run the Psycho Show page. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Psycho Show. We are also on TikTok for our Gen Z folk and elder millennials. And that's part of the reason why we're doing a little video is so that I have some material that I can chop together and I won't get copyright struck with, having clips, because that's a thing. No joke. I seriously did that with our My Bloody Valentine episode, and like YouTube Shorts, like hit us with a copyright strike because I included a clip of the movie that we're talking about it, and I'm like, dude, like it's a review. That's fair use. But
yeah,
whatever.
My Bloody fucking Valentine, like get over it. Yeah.
But aside from that, yes, we are on TikTok at Cinema Psycho Show. We are also on Discord. So if you really love Stepfather 2 and you were offended by what we said, please come on the Discord and tell us that we're assholes. Or maybe you hated it and you also disagree with some of the things that we said that we liked about it.
Or if you worked on it.
Or if you worked on
talk
it.
to us.
Or if you're Terry O'Quinn and you want to talk about it, come to our Discord and talk about it. Caroline Williams, same thing. Meg Foster, you and your creepy eyes can come on Discord as well.
I don't think she's going to want to talk to us after this.
Listen, I guarantee you, we are not the only people who have said that she has creepy eyes. I imagine she is a very kind woman, but just, Jesus Christ, woman, how did you get those creepy eyes? Whose soul did you steal? But aside from Discord, if you want to contact us the old-fashioned way, just drop us an email at cinemapsychoshow.com. And be sure to follow us and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, and we will see you next time.
Hey, if your father complains you didn't make it to Father's Day brunch, tell that asshole this entire holiday was built so a store could sell more khaki pants. That's the truth.